In late 2007, Naughty Dog, the masterminds behind the Crash Bandicoot series, unleashed Uncharted, Drake's fortune exclusively to the PlayStation 3. Back in the days when I didn't have a PS3, I knew this would be one of the first games I would buy after seeing a review for it online. When I woke up on Christmas Day, I got my PS3 set up and this was the first game I popped in. So I loaded it up, expecting an amazing game, and I sure as hell wasn't disappointed. In Uncharted, you control Nathan Drake, a treasure hunter who claims to be a descendant of Sir Francis Drake. With the help of his friend Victor Sullivan and journalist Elena Fisher, Drake searches the dense jungles of the Amazon, hoping to find the lost treasure of El Dorado before his rival treasure hunter does, who happens to have hundreds of mercenaries at his disposal. The cutscenes of the game are evenly spread out and are at the perfect length. When you narrow it down, the story is a basic treasure hunter story, but the characters that this game features is what makes the story so memorable. Thanks to some top-notch voice acting and quality dialogue, you really get what these characters are about. You've got Elena, the feisty I take no bullshit journalist, Sully, the confident womanizer who will keep puffing on that cigar even when he's staring down the barrel of a pistol, and Drake, the cocky, sarcastic but lovable little rascal. To help the characters feel more alive, they make comments and exchange conversations outside of cutscenes during gameplay, which certainly helps them feel more believable. Sully and Drake have supposedly been friends for a long time. The game doesn't show you this through a 10-year-long cutscene, but it strongly hints at this, and you really believe this due to the excellent chemistry that the two voice actors have. I remember when I played this game for the first time, it was the first ever this-gen game I've ever played, and the graphics blew my mind. Back in 2007 they were amazing, and even today they hold up perfectly fine. This is one colourful, beautiful looking game. A large portion of the game takes place within the jungle. Personally, I loved the jungle environment, so I didn't mind, but I can acknowledge the fact that there will be some people out there who might find the jungle environment a bit repetitive towards the end of the game. On the plus side, the jungle looks gorgeous. As the sun beams down onto the trees, the branches and leaves cast shadows onto the ground. Branches sway from side to side. It all looks really good. Drake's adventure will also bring him to underground tombs, decaying ruined cities and fortresses. I'm not sure how it compares by nowadays standards, but I'm pretty confident that back in 2007, Uncharted had the best looking water effects in any game ever made. I did notice some late texture pop-ins a few times, but this happened very rarely and was barely even noticeable. As for the gameplay, Uncharted is an action-adventure game. You control Drake from a third-person perspective, with gunfights taking up a large portion of the game. You'll be aided by AI partners occasionally throughout certain segments of the game, but from a strictly gameplay point of view, they never actually do anything in the gunfights. I mean, yeah, sure, they shoot blindly from behind cover a lot, but they don't really seem to hit a target much. Or at least when they do, it doesn't really make a significant impact to the gunfights. Drake can hold 2 firearms in all, a sidearm slot reserved for pistols and a more larger weapon slot used to carry machine guns, rifles and shotguns. If you get close enough to an enemy, you can engage them in hand-to-hand combat, in which you can either mash square until they die, or go for the brutal takedown, in which you just press square, triangle, square. The brutal takedown makes the enemies drop more ammo than they usually would, so when I only had one bad guy left to fight in the area, I did feel inclined to hunt him down and take him out with only my fists. The next portion of the gameplay is taken up by exploration and platforming. The game is pretty linear, so when I say exploration, I mean just running down the path the game is clearly laid out for you, but you do get a few odd occasions where you find yourself restricted to a small area, and you'll have to have a little look around to find out what to do next. For example, in this part, I've got to figure out how to climb up on this ledge. Drake has been blessed with Tarzan tier climbing ability, so a lot of the time you'll be shimmying across cave ledges, the faces of cliffs, and buildings. The climbing mechanic allows you to fluently overcome any climbing segments and is extremely easy to use. You just push the analog stick in the direction you want to jump in and press X. For the most part, the climbing controls work well, but you do get a few odd moments where you're left screaming at your TV, "Why didn't you grab onto that fucking ledge, Drake?" But thankfully, these moments are few in number. During your trek to find the treasure, you'll be confronted by several puzzles throughout the game. Whenever confronted by a puzzle, you can look into Drake's journal, which contains a few sketches which provide clues to how to complete the puzzle. The puzzles in this game are extremely easy and straightforward. You'll have no problem solving them. The journal pretty much tells you exactly what to do. So seeing as the puzzles are really easy, you never get that sense of satisfaction that other games give you when you complete a really challenging puzzle. Regardless of this, the puzzles are still fun to solve and are a welcome addition to the gameplay, as they offer you a nice break from the platforming and gunfights. The puzzles, platforming and combat segments are all equally distributed throughout the game. Then you've got brief change-ups in the gameplay to grab your attention, such as a sequence where you're riding on the back of a jeep mounted a machine gun, and when you're using a jet ski to travel upriver against the current. I also feel as if the game was adjusted well to fit each difficulty. When you select the difficulty that you selected feels like the difficulty that you selected. If you pick easy, you can pretty much run throughout the whole entire game without having to hide behind cover. Pick normal and you'll die a fair amount of times. You'll definitely have to use cover when possible, but there's a nice amount of challenge without being frustrating. Then you've got hard mode, in which you'll be hiding behind cover with a black and white screen for the majority of the game, while finally you have the hardest difficulty of the game, which is only unlockable once you've completed hard mode, which is known as crushing mode, which is one of those stupidly over-the-top, frustratingly hard difficulties. Also, there's no loading screens throughout the game. Sure, you've got the one when you load up the game or start a new game, but after that you play the whole entire game without a single loading screen. Now that's awesome. The game is a standard 8 hours long, but it's a very solid, enjoyable 8 hours, which I couldn't wait to experience again. As for the replay value, there's collectibles that come in the form of 61 hidden treasures and in-game challenges. When this game was first released, trophies were yet to be brought to the PS3, so the inclusion of in-game challenges certainly helped expand the game's lifetime. The challenges range from getting 50 headshots, getting a certain amount of kills with each weapon, killing a certain amount of enemies with a grenade while hanging from a ledge, completing the game on certain difficulties, and killing a certain amount of enemies without dying. It's a shame that the challenges almost entirely focus on the combat side of the game. How about scale the wall of the fortress in under 2 minutes, or complete this puzzle without making a mistake? Completing in-game challenges rewards you with in-game points, which can be used to buy alternate costumes, infinite ammo, weapons, and other fun game-altering options. So that's Uncharted. It's a cliché story which turns into something so much more thanks to the memorable characters, amazing visuals, and fun gameplay. The only downside to the game would be that sometimes the climbing segments have a few hiccups, sometimes the gunfights get a bit monotonous, and the ending is really disappointing. When I say the ending's really disappointed, I don't mean it from a story point of view. Story-wise, the ending is excellent, but from a gameplay point of view, it's really anticlimactic. Still, these flaws are extremely minor, and you'll barely even notice them since they'll be overshadowed by how much fun you'll be having. And you've got to love the sudden change of mood for the final half an hour of the game. 8 out of 10.